Tim, good to see you. You guys have had opportunities in the past to make big splashes during transaction season. Why was this opportunity so intriguing, and why were you guys so aggressive at this moment?
No, I think it's specific to the players. We had certain areas we were trying to improve upon, and we thought with both Aaron and JaVale, it's two guys that help us in those areas. So I think every trade deadline, every offseason is different. But before I even start, I can't say enough about the guys we lost. RJ Hampton's going to be a heck of a player, great kid, great work ethic, completely bought in the program. And I wouldn't be sitting here right now without Gary Harris. He's a trusted colleague, a dear friend, a fantastic basketball player, and an even better person. So where we are today is a direct result of so many of the contributions that Gary made on and off the court, and he'll be missed dearly.
Jeff, go ahead.
There we go. I'm old. I don't know how to work technology. What was the specific skill set that intrigued you about Aaron Gordon? Was there something that he did that you identified that could be in a need of what the team needed? Basically, do you think that his complementary skill set was what you were looking for specifically? With him,
he brings positional versatility, his ability to play all over the court on both ends. I think he's one of the most underrated defenders in the league. I think he has a chance to be an all-league defender. Extremely competitive guy with a big-time work ethic. So for all those reasons, he was a very attractive guy that we thought could help us. But I really think, I don't think there's many guys in the league that have his defensive upside, and I'm looking forward to what he can bring on that end of the floor.
Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Tim, how you doing? How many things have to go right for this to fall into place, especially with what you give up and what you want? I mean, obviously you've done this dance many times before.
Well, I think it's a testament to the players we sent out. Those were guys that are coveted because of what they've done relative to Gary and what RJ is going to do. So if you don't have good players, you can't get good players. Again, very difficult to trade guys like that. So I think without having a roster full of guys that are well thought of league-wide, it's near impossible to make any trades.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey, Tim, you've been around Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray for a long time. You've spent a long time trying to build the best possible team around them. Does the addition of Aaron Gordon sort of represent just learning more about those guys and the skill sets that they have, and then maximizing that accordingly?
I think anytime you make a big addition, you have to do so first and foremost thinking about your best players. And Nicole and Jamal are clearly our two foundational pieces. So, how do you help them? How do you protect them? So I think any major move we make is firmly with those guys in mind. And I think both Aaron and JaVale check both those boxes, can both help and protect those guys.
Go ahead, Harrison.
Hey, Tim. The season that Nicola's having, obviously having an MVP caliber season, how well he's playing, did that give you any motivation to go out and make a big move and upgrade the roster in a big way like you did with Gordon, just Nikola having the season that he's having?
Well, it's hard not to be inspired by his level of play. And while we never want to feel like we have to rush anything or skip steps, when you see a guy playing at that level, it's extra motivation to try to even be that much more aggressive. So he's been fantastic for a lot of years. At the moment, he's the best player in the world. He's and he's a guy that should continue to raise all our bars because we want to make sure we're doing right by him, because he's certainly doing right by our organization with his play.
Mark Kisla.
Hey there, two-parter. Number one, I just saw Pat Riley say that after he made a trade, how wide open he thinks it is this season. How wide open do you think the championship race is? And number two, to go back to something you said about Gary Harris as a player and a person, how difficult was that for you, and how did you tell him?
First, is that a Mario Brothers, Smash Brothers hat? What is Smash?
Smash is Smash for Nashville, and I know this will be hard for you to believe, but during an Avs Predators playoff series a couple years ago, the entire city of Nashville wanted to do me harm, and their PR director gave me this hat as an apology.
All right, shocked. Cool hat. I thought it was a Mario Brothers thing. I was pretty impressed. Yeah. Gary, we could spend an hour talking about Gary. He's the best. He's a fantastic person. He's got, wonderful family. He's, he's the longest tenured Nugget, and from where we are now, from where we were when he arrived here, it's a direct correlation to how much he's done for this team. Yeah, it stinks. It's not enjoyable. Thankfully, we have a great relationship. I've watched Gary grow up, and he's become such a really impressive guy. He was here this weekend watching college basketball. He loves hoops. So it's the whole idea of trading people is really kind of gross to me. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sit well with me. But he is A+ across the board. I think he's an elite two-way guard. And without question, we're not enjoying any success we've enjoyed the last couple of years if Gary's not here. So difficult day. We shared a lot of memories. I should just talk to him a little bit earlier. He'll be sorely missed. And Orlando gained just a fantastic human being. In terms of the championship race being wide open, I think it's for numerous reasons. I would agree with Coach Riley. It's been a weird year, a truncated offseason, all the COVID protocols, the interruptions of games and/or games being missed by players who are in the health and safety. So I think it's a bit atypical relative to what we've seen, quote unquote normal time. So I would tend to agree with him. And I think there's a lot of teams that have the ability to go win it all. And I like to think we're one of them.
Alex Labadou.
Hey, Tim. What does JaVale bring to this team, and how valuable is his experience as a winner going to be to this locker room?
It was the Alex. I've known JaVale now since he was 18 years old. And I was certainly a much different guy at 18 than I am. And I think JaVale's 32. So to watch him grow and to watch him mature and to be with him twice, first in DC and then in Denver. And then he kind of took a circuitous route to the Warriors, won a couple rings, the Lakers last year. It's really neat to see his development as a person and player. So he brings championship level experience. He knows what it takes. No one else in our room has been where he's been. He's been there several times. He's an elite rim protector. He's one of the best lob threats in the NBA. I think he's a really neat, smart guy. He brings quite a bit off the court. He's a guy you can have conversations about various topics. And so he'll bring all those things. But again, it's just neat to see a guy's career take so many unique twists and turns and then kind of be reunited. And hopefully he's an impactful piece because we know that, we need what he brings.
Mike Singer.
Hey, Tim, what has your communication with Aaron been like so far? And what was kind of his reaction to the news?
He's been fantastic. We actually just flew in together. I'm sure I talked to Zeroff. At some point I said, I'll give you a little bit of time to rest because I'm sure you're sick of me talking to you and telling you how great our coaching staff is, how great the city is, how great our organization is. In doing all the research on Aaron, it was a common theme of extremely competitive and driven guy, a guy that really cares about winning and cares about winning at the highest level. And it shows when you talk to him. His eyes perk up when you talk about some of the playoff games we've had. His eyes perk up when you talk about how crazy ball arena can be. in the postseason. So I think I know he's extremely, extremely excited. I think he's ready for the challenges that are going to pretty quickly face him. And he's a guy that really, really values winning. And he thinks he can make a big impact on our team. And, we're excited to see that starting, tomorrow or Sunday, with his first game.
Joel Rush, go ahead.
Hi, Tim. You mentioned a few minutes ago not skipping steps, and it seems like that's been the kind of guiding principle of your guys' organization for years, being patient and not skipping steps. But as you reach like the higher levels of competition here and approaching title contention, does that philosophy still apply at those, like, do you need to start skipping a step now and then to reach those like higher levels?
Yeah, I don't know it's necessarily skipping a step. I think we have to acknowledge we're in a different place than we've ever been. The playoff success the last 2 years, I think, speaks to what we're capable of. Again, I think we have the best coach in the league. I think we have the best player in the league. These guys have organically grown together and proven that they can beat anybody when we're playing our brand of basketball. So I think it's situational. I don't think any path to success is always linear. So I think when you have a duo like Jamal and Nicole, and you see the growth of a guy like Michael and some of the contributions of Paul, and it's been great to see Will have a big bounce back year after the injuries. We have a group of guys that have shown that they are capable of winning. And when you have that, I think you have to be a bit more assertive. You see those opportunities and know that the discussions we're going to have now are going to be different than the discussion we had 2 or 3 years ago. We're at a different place organizationally.
Ashley Neville.
Hey, Tim, I'm curious, do you talk with Coach and Nikola and Jamal in terms of when you're going to go about making certain moves? Like, do you kind of, what's the temperature, I guess, in the locker room when you talk to these guys about maybe certain things that their concerns? Did you talk with them beforehand about all of this?
Yeah, I talked to all 3 of those guys. Obviously, Mo and I talk all the time. I joke, said, I'll give them a list of players. Show me who you love, show me who you hate. If we can get a player you love, I won't call you. If it's a player you dislike, I won't call you. And in between, let's have a conversation. With Joker and Jamal, these guys are still so young, and we talk about how much they've won relative to their age. But I've really tried to express to them, hey, we need your input to take these next steps, because if you're not feeling good about potential moves, it's likely not going to work. I mean, this team is their team. It's owned by the guys in that locker room. So you try to get thoughts. You talk to guys who might have played with these guys, or there's connections. If we have a player that's really tight with someone on a different team, we want to get a really good sense of what that guy might be like in the locker room, in the community. Is he a worker, et cetera? And then these guys are, our guys on our team are just such top-notch and first-class guys. They'll give you your thoughts and then say, we have faith in you and Coach and Josh, and we trust whatever decision you're going to make. So we certainly have those conversations. It's enlightening. It's saved me several times from making mistakes. These guys really offer good insight. And I think it's important that they have ownership over that locker room.
Jeff Morgan, go ahead.
Tim, aside from obviously benefiting from being on championship teams, what have you seen from JaVale between them when he was last year in 2014 and now? Is there a difference that you see in JaVale that identified that you really wanted back on this Nuggets team?
I've always thought, and I've shared this with JaVale numerous times, I've always thought JaVale was maybe at times too harshly judged and criticized. JaVale's a guy that's always worked. He's a guy that really likes basketball. Comes from a basketball family. His mom was a heck of a player. He cares. He's a complete pro the way he eats. I'm pretty sure JaVale's still a vegan. And he's really bright. And I thought until he was on those teams that really went at a high level, I thought it was a bit of a lazy narrative how he was viewed. I think he's a guy that you don't play the minutes he does for some of the best teams we've ever seen in the history of the NBA unless you can impact winning. And I think the best compliment we can give JaVale is impacts winnings. But it was funny when I talked to him the other day, he gave me the cliche, I'm really excited to help this organization, championship level experience, yada, yada, yada. I started laughing. He's like, why are you laughing? I said, when I first met you, you were 18 years old and you were not this guy. So it's really cool to see how much success he's had because it's well-earned and well-deserved. And it's really cool to see him coming back here 7 years later with 3 championship rings and be able to instill and share some of the knowledge he's learned along the way, winning those rings.
Arnie Stapleton, go ahead.
Hey, Tim, anytime you add a piece, especially a big piece in the middle of the season, there's a little bit of chemistry that needs to be built and whatnot. Given the coaching staff you have and the players you have on the roster, how quickly do you think that process will be microwaved with these new guys?
Yeah, it's a good question. In a normal year, I think we'd have some time to acclimate the new faces, a couple of practices. I think it'll be challenging we're playing every other day and you're traveling, you're testing the players 3 times daily. So I do think it'll be more challenging this year than maybe years past. Fortunately, we have a lot of continuity with our players, with our coaching staff. These guys are both veterans with high basketball IQs. JaVale's been through this a couple times. I would imagine his learning curve will be a bit easier, being around, being traded a few times. But, it's when you add 2 new faces, there's always going to be some growing pains. And we'll be patient and try to acclimate these guys at the pace and speed that Mo feels comfortable. And hopefully that happens sooner rather than later.
Katie Wingy.
Hey, Tim, kind of on that note, you've developed such a brotherhood and a family locker room atmosphere. Like I'm talking off the court right now. How do you think these guys fit into the culture that you have worked so hard building?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll fit in seamlessly. We can't control totally wins and losses, can't control makes or misses, but I think I've said this to you guys quite a few times. I think you can control the type of people you bring into the locker room. And we don't make these moves lightly. We sent out, again, 2 really good players, but 2 better people. RJ Hampton and Gary Harris are just class guys. And we did extensive research. And I've known JaVale for a very long time, but he hasn't been here in 7 years. Even with JaVale, you talk to his present or former teammates the last couple of years, coaches, and to make sure you have a updated picture of what we can expect. We've talked to so many people about Aaron, and the reviews have all been rave and extremely positive, and being consistent with his work ethic, his intelligence, his desire to compete at the highest level. So I think we feel like these guys are our type of guys and will be well received and add a lot of texture and to our locker room.
Duvalier Johnson.
Hi, Tim. You just spoke about asking Jamal or talking to Jamal and Jokic about the decision to bring in a player. And then when you bring in a player that is that talented, there's a lot of questions about buy-in. Do you think that there's any type of issues that could arise with that? And also, is there a conversation about pecking order or anything of that nature?
Well, I don't think there's any discussion about pecking order with our team. We got an MVP candidate, the best player in the world. Jamal and Nikola, I think very biased, are the best duo in the league. And it's at times when you don't have that pecking order, it can be more difficult. When it's a little more nebulous, it's a little more gray. But anybody that's coming to Denver, we've got 2 guys who are superstars. We have a lot of really, really good players. We have a guy, Michael Porter, who's playing fantastic basketball and only 2nd year in the NBA, and he'll continue to get better. So I don't think that will be a concern or issue. And relative to buy-in from these guys, you got to be honest when you walk in the door. Aaron and I had some very honest and frank conversations on the plane about how he can be most impactful. We have a chance to do something special, and I think we have to be very specific and granular in what we expect from both these guys. And both these guys are all about winning. I mean, JaVale's played every role possible in the NBA, from a high-flying rookie scale guy to starter to deep bench to minimum and everything in between. And all that guy has done is produced and won over the last 6-7 years. Aaron Gordon, 2-time state player of the year, I think 2-time state champion in California. He values in winning, going to a story program like Arizona, having to taste the playoffs last year or 2 years ago now with Orlando. I think he's driven by winning. That's was a consistent pattern when talking to his teammates and coaches. They said, look, this guy really is really competitive. His eyes get a little bit bigger when he's playing against an elite guy. So I think in regard to all those things, these guys are perfect fits. And Mo does a great job of being very specific about where we are and what they should expect, what we should expect. And I think when talking to both these guys, it's hard not to get fired up when you hear them talking about winning a championship and hear them talking about how can I be and play a role that can most directly help us get there.
Joel Rush, go ahead.
Hey, Tim, as you just mentioned, Nikola Jokic is an MVP candidate, and do you believe that he is the MVP of this season?
Yeah, I think he's the best player in the world. I think he impacts winning as much as anybody in the NBA. I think I said the same thing last year. The guy's amazing. He is completely selfless about playing the right way. With his more aggressive offensive approach, there's really, I don't know what you can do to try to stop him. You can slow him down, but he's playing near perfect basketball. His commitment to his body, and a huge testament to Felipe and their relationship. I'm just so incredibly proud of him. And the guy turned 26 a couple weeks ago. I mean, we're going to see a level of sustained basketball that I don't think we've ever seen in this town. And certainly from a very, very, very subjective viewpoint, but I think he's the MVP.
Mike Singer.
Hey, Tim, this was Cal's first trade deadline as the general manager. How big of an asset was he to you?
He's fantastic. Mike, you've talked to him extensively. He's just a really, really bright person who sees things through creative lenses. He's able to also offer the unique perspective of a guy that's been traded a couple times, a guy that's played in the NBA for 10 years and has had various roles. So without his contributions and the contributions from the entire basketball operations staff, the coaches, everyone in B-ball ops, we wouldn't have got this done. The information that we were able to kind of glean in all these background and vetting calls, having an ear to the ground to get a sense of what might be out there and what opposing teams might be trying to do, without everyone kind of coming together and providing that info, we wouldn't be able to get guys like Aaron and JaVale, and Cal led that whole group effort.
All right, last one for you, Tim. We'll go to Vinny Benedetto.
Hey, Tim. Do these moves finalize this roster in your eyes, or do you foresee a situation where you guys might be active in a buyout situation?
No, maybe it's really specific to the player. If we think that person can add something that we lack, if they can bring something positive to the locker room and the court, then we'll look at. The dust hasn't fully settled. The trade deadline, I think guys are just reporting. Guys are going to figure out where they'll be. How active a buyout market will there be? What guys might be available? So we're always looking. The job's trying to make sure you have the best roster never really ends. But we feel pretty good about where we are. The last couple of weeks we played high-level basketball until we ran into that buzzsaw in Toronto. We feel good about our team. We think we have a really good chance to go as far as anybody else. This roster is now truly battle tested. They've seen a lot of big time games in the playoffs. And it's exciting. It'll be exciting to see how we finish the season. Hopefully we return to the playoffs and can make some noise, but we feel good about where we are.
All right, that'll do it. Thanks for the time, Tim.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend.